Today we're going to talk about how to install the Raspberry Pi CM4 with eMMC on the BigTreeTech Manta M8P version 2. Now, I've talked about this before with a previous tutorial on how to install the regular Raspberry Pi without eMMC. This one actually does have it, and it's 8 gigabit, which I recommend using for this particular type. It's faster and it has onboard memory. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about eMMC because I've covered it before, but obviously we have to configure a couple things. So remember the two ports that I've covered in the first two tutorials. There's two ports underneath here that we have to configure. So let me pick this up and show you what I'm talking about. And the simple way to do this is to actually align this above where all the holes are, and then push down on the left side and then the right side until it clicks in. Now over here we have to actually check how to configure the dip switches. I've uncovered the actual Kapton tape so you can see it better, but I'm going to show you in the manual real quick where that is. And I've already covered how to download this before, but I'll show you once again. Over on the desktop, if you go over to repositories and you click on Manta, or type Manta, pardon me, and you click over here, you can download the actual whole configuration right here. I've already opened it up over here. So if you were to search on CM4, you can see that we have a couple of versions. So this is the version that we're going to be working with. You can see that it has eMMC, and it's going to talk about the two jumpers being 3 and 4 needing to be on to enter the boot mode. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So over here, we're going to actually move the dip switch. There's the first one for 3. There's 4. So I have direct power on the board right now for the actual power supply. It's unplugged currently. Obviously, I'm going to have to plug in USB connected to the computer. This will allow us to communicate with the board. You will hear a beep when this comes up on the computer, but you're going to have to run a program called RPi boot, I believe. But let me show you how to connect the Wi-Fi antenna. Over here, it's a little cup that clicks on this, and that should be good. So I'm also going to connect this just so I don't forget later on, and then we'll go over to the computer. So let me plug it in as I go over to the computer so you hear it beep. And then on the computer, I've got to do the RPi boot. So this is a program you can download. It's running a binary called boot code. And if it works correctly, we'll see this as a drive. So over here, you can see there's now a drive E that has nothing on it. That is the actual connection to your Raspberry Pi in this case. So we'll click over here. We'll choose the storage. We'll click the size of it, which is about 8 gig. Then I'm going to cheat and do an easier way to do this. So I'm going to go choose OS. I'm going to then find, let's see, other specific purpose OS, 3D printing, and I'm going to go with the Octopus Klipper Pi right here. Actually, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to actually go with MainSail. Sorry about that. I'm going to do 64-bit, and then I'm going to do write. Yes. And this will take upwards of maybe 20 minutes, but it's writing directly to your board, so you don't need an SD card. But I'll show you the steps after this completes. It's probably going to run for a little bit, so watch the clock down on the bottom right, and you'll see when I come back. It should be close to verifying when I come back. Okay, it's almost verified. It'll be verified in probably like less than 5 seconds. So we're going to get a message. Now what we're going to have to do is first let's see if we have a drive. Apparently we have this message, which you're going to click cancel on. Then we're going to see if we have the drive. At the moment we don't. So what I'm going to have to do is go over to the actual desktop. And on the desktop, I'm going to have to power down the board for a second. So I'll remove the power from the power supply. Then I'll plug it back in. Then I'll go back over to the computer and I'll run rpi boot again. So this will take a second to actually run, then you'll see the drive pop up. There we go. So we get that message again, but we're going to click cancel. Then we're going to go over to the boot drive. We're going to find the supplicant file right here. First thing that you need to do is actually rename it. We're going to take off the part that has the example and the period that was down there. Then we'll hit enter. Say yes. Then we're going to right click and we're going to edit in NotePad++. So inside NotePad++, we're going to put your Wi-Fi network name here. Then you're going to put your Wi-Fi password so you can log into it. So I'm going to do this off screen, save it, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, now that it's saved, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go back over to the board. So I'll show you this real quick. So on the desktop, I'm going to disconnect the power. So the power is disconnected. Now we're going to have to move the dip switches back. So 3 goes back to off. Then 4 goes back to off. Now we're going to plug it back in and we're going to watch to see what happens on the actual display. So I'm going to switch over to that in a second. So I'll plug it back in and I'll bring up the display. It's going to be a second. So you can see right here, it's going to be probably black for a second, and then it should show like resizing or something, and then generating the SSH, which is secure shell. It'll reboot. It'll probably go blank again for a second, but we'll wait and see what happens. I'll probably switch over to the other monitor and log into the actual router so you can see that. I will have to blur some stuff out here. So let me take care of that while you're watching. So as you can see, it may or may not pop the actual IP address when it logs in. If it does or does not, we'll find out, but we'll see FluidPi on our actual router when this actually is complete. So if we scan through it, I don't see an actual IP address that's showing up there. So what we'll do is we'll go over to the computer and see what the IP address is. So let me switch over to that so you can see it. Now I blurred out obviously this part up here, but you can see FluidPi right here where it says 192.168.1.5. So we're going to open that up. Now when this comes up, there may be issues. It may have trouble coming up. But the other thing that we can do is we can actually go over to TeraTerm, which I'll bring up while this is actually trying to get connected. Okay, so I figured out it's not actually FluidPi that I'm talking about, it's MainSail, so that was 1.7. So that's the first thing that I did incorrectly. So as you can see, there's an issue with it starting. One, that it doesn't have a printer.config. So let's take care of that real quick. Then I'm going to show you the actual TeraTerm session and what we want to do. So I'm going to click on Machine. I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to paste the actual name for it and create it. So now that we have it created, we actually have to create or fill the actual configuration. So I'm going to click over here, go to version 2 for Manta. Then I'm going to go to firmware, and then here is the actual pinouts. So we'll copy it with the raw, then we'll go back over here and we'll see if we can right click and paste, which we can. And a couple of habits that I like to get into, I like to copy this piece out. So I'm going to do a Control X or cut, and then I'm going to paste it right here. So this is a default configuration. This is not our actual configuration. So to find that, we have to go over to Klipper. Then we have to go to Installation Configuration, Installation, scroll down to a particular command, which is this right here. This is the listing of the dev serial by ID for anything that's in there, being the wildcard, which is this little star. So I'm going to copy that, go over to TeraTerm. We're going to have to log in, so I'm going to do File, New Connection. It's going to be 192.168.1.7, so I'll click OK. Then Continue. Then it's Pi for the username. And then for the passphrase or password, it's raspberry. Then press Enter. And we're in. So I'm going to paste this command with a right click, then hit Enter. And this is our actual MCU. So I'm going to copy this so you can see it. So I'm going to hit Enter just to clear it because it's already in the buffer. I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in comparison. So if you type serial :space and then paste it with a Control V, you can see they're different. So if you ever want to comment this one out, you'll hit Control / and it'll put a comment in front of it, which is a hash. So we'll save that. Now we're going to see some issues. So let's go over here and see what the issues are. We'll try. Well, it's restarting for us. It says that the ADC is out of range. That means that your thermistors are not connected. So let's connect those now. So we'll go over to the desktop. I'll grab 2 thermistors. So these actually tell temperature. I have this mocked out for the hot end and for the heat bed. So I'm going to connect these to those ports. So for the actual thermistor, it's the second one from the bottom over here. And then for the heat bed, it's this bottom one right here. You can also find that on the diagram. So I'm going to put this over here so you can see it. And then I'm going to go back over to the computer for a second. And then I'm going to do a firmware reset to see what happens. So now it's got a different message. It says the virtual SD card, the pause and resume, and a couple other things are not working. So we're going to have to go over to machine again, go to MainSail, and I'll show you the trick. All you do is you copy from here down to the tag for this. So we'll do these for now. So right click, copy. You're going to cancel out of here with the X. Then you're going to go to your printer config. And at the very bottom is where I like to put these now. So I'm going to hit Enter. Then I'm going to hit Control V to paste it. Then we'll do save and restart and see if we fixed it. So let's go back to the dashboard. So it looks like now everything is fixed somewhat. There are a couple of things I want to show you real quick, but I've shown you in other tutorials, so I'll show you parts of it. So if you go to machine, you can see over on the right hand side your updates are not up to date. So the first one that I want to do to actually check to get these up to date, normally I would do them here, but they're all going to fail because I normally like to do it in TeraTerm. So you're going to type the following command to do this. It's sudo. This is raising the privileges, by the way. It's a system command. And then we want to do update. And this will give us an update of our actual things that we can update in our system. So the password is going to be raspberry. Then press enter. This will take about maybe a minute or two, depending upon your network speed, to actually grab all the updates. Right now my network speed is not super great. I don't know why. But if you like this tutorial so far, please remember to like and subscribe, and also share if you'd like. I also have patrons that I want to thank. There will be at the end of the video a thank you for the patrons, as well as the people on PayPal and Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. So I'll list out all the people that have helped by offsetting the expense for me to buy parts and my time. So this will complete probably in about, well, it's almost done, hopefully. So now that that's complete, you can up arrow, change the update to upgrade, and then hit enter. And this will probably take about 20 minutes, so I'll pause the video while it's occurring. You're gonna hit yes here, by the way. So now I'll let it pause for a second, and then I'll come back when it's completed. Okay, it looks like it just completed. Obviously it ran a lot of things. It's pretty quick actually with the eMMC memory. On the non-eMMC memory, it's a little bit slower. So let's go back over to the browser. On the browser now, we can check for updates for everything else. So this may take a few moments, but then it gets a lot easier to do. So let's see how long this takes. Also, there's some cool functionality now down here where you can check all your end stops. But I'll show you that in a moment. Hopefully this won't take too long, otherwise I'll pause it. And by the way, you want to run a fan on your actual processor just to make sure that it keeps nice and cool. And I showed that in the very first tutorial in this series for the BigTreeTech Manta M8P version 2, where you can connect it. I'll show you later on how you can do it. Okay, so I'm going to do update all components just to make it quicker. So most of this should go pretty good. You may have to do a refresh, but it should be pretty quick. And once again, after this completes, I'm going to show you the thermistor just to make sure that it's working. That's that little test where I grab the thermistor to see that it actually heats up in the in between my finger and thumb. So looks like we're almost done here. So hopefully, oh, it says successful. Pip is the actual utility for Python, so it's a way to pull down software. But I'm not really going to talk about Python, so we'll do try again. We'll see if it's completed. Looks like we're done, so everything should be up to date, which it says. Now we're technically not really using, what is it? Well, I thought there was something in here we weren't using, but let's skip that for now. Let's try the end stop syncs real quick. Now none of them are connected, so they're all going to say triggered. And now let me see if I can show you on the dashboard the thing with the temperatures. So these are your thermistors right here for your hot heat bed and for your extruder. So let me bring up both of those at the same time. And I'm just going to put this in between my fingers and watch the actual temperature spike. So the temperature spike is actually occurring right here. You can see it's starting to rise for the heat bed, and you can also see it up here. So notice the difference. Ambient temperature is about 24 degrees Celsius, and now it's at 32, which is basically close to my body's temperature. So I'll undo that for a second. Hopefully that'll cool off kind of quick, but you can see it's dropping. So at this moment, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch the tutorial. And remember, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. Take care, and I'll catch up with you later.